The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Planted with Sara Payan. I'm Sara Payan, your host. And today, out of New York, we have Jes Feuer, marketing, branding in cannabis in New York. I'm so excited to talk with you today, learn more about things. For those of you who know Jes, you know what a force of nature she is with her marketing and branding. For those of you who don't, you are going to get some very interesting information because she has been doing things in the cannabis space in New York since its beginning, and it's still going on. It's still progressing, and I just love being in California. I love to hear about what other states are doing because together we can create a stronger and more creative industry. So Jes, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and that lovely intro. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. I'm just really excited to dig in. But before we do, I always like to ask a question to all my guests. What was your first cannabis experience? And that doesn't necessarily have to be consumption.
Because in this industry, we love to answer that question.
Right.
I always am kind of like, I don't necessarily remember my first experience, but I remember the one that was more, let's call it transformative, which is actually with my sister. We did not get along so well. And I came home from school and we kind of bonded for the first time over a really beautiful joint that she rolled. And she actually was in the industry in Oregon and kind of taught me all the different nuances that existed. I didn't know sativa, hybrid, indica. I just knew cannabis, and it kind of bonded us ever since then. And now that I'm in the industry and kind of like shoe on the other foot and she's not, it's just been really cool to kind of have that. Was almost like what kickstarted this. I love a cannabis pun, so like get ready. That like spark in me that I was like, oh, there's like so much more to this plant than I kind of ever knew. So I always kind of look back at that as like that kind of formative cannabis moment, if you will.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I mean, it really does. It shows like, I mean, I've had conversations with people who say that their first one made them realize that like they didn't realize they had anxiety or what have you. But I mean, to think about like, we talk about, alcohol and cannabis. And we talk about, when you drink alcohol, that's a lot of times when like people throw down and get into arguments. When you talk about cannabis, that's when people like reflect and mellow out and are open to conversations.
Absolutely. And no one in my family drinks anymore. Now we all just consume cannabis. It's so like, it's been so interesting that it's just kind of flipped the script. And I'm like, I mean, we have the most fun family gatherings because we're like, who's got what? My mom's a medical patient. My sister's a medical patient. So it's been like, it's kind of a fun, different thing to bond over that, and you still feel good the next day.
I want to come hang. I'll bring banana bread.
Oh my gosh, yes, come, please, let's go. Love it.
I love it. Well, so was it that experience that got you interested in working in cannabis? Because you'd had a rich career. You had been working in fashion.
Yes. I was in fashion for some years. Don't want to date myself, but I was really lucky to work for amazing brands that were all European brands that were coming over to the States, but specifically New York, to really grow their brand here. So ever from Lacoste to Topshop to ASOS. And I loved it. I got to do so many fun things, meet so many amazing people, get a lot of free clothes, but I kind of knew what was going to be the next thing and what did I really have an interest in. And I was going to the West Coast a lot. And that's when dispensaries started popping up in LA. And that's when I saw that there were cannabis brands. And I just had never thought about it like that before. And starting to go to stores there, actually with my close friend there that doesn't even consume cannabis, but he just was like, I want to show you these beautiful stores that exist. And it kind of just put in my head, wow, this is going to be the next thing. And it's something that I really do have a passion for the different products that there are and seeing all the different brands. I was like, I think that I want this to be my next step when I'm ready to kind of move on from fashion.
Yeah. And it's an interesting time to get involved in it because when I started in cannabis, it was during the medicinal days here in California. And so the branding was rather limited. And what we did have, there were a couple of good examples, but by and large, it was still kind of foil packaging, with a sticker, but it's gotten so sophisticated. And I feel like we've been in this kind of time of shift where it's like, can you have the sophistication without like so many pieces of packaging? Like, how do we do that? And it's been really interesting. And you were at Etain for over 4 years, and that was very much a female focus, which I find also very interesting, because when we look at cannabis, it seems like, and my canna brothers out there, don't be offended, but it's a very singular lens that we see cannabis through. And so we started with, on the cusp of legalization, and especially like, a lot of people and a lot of guys are like, oh, it sells itself. And then they're all of a sudden surprised, wait a minute, why aren't my retail stores having the sales that they thought that they were going to? But a lot of it has to do with how we're having the conversations and who we're actually accessing, because there's this huge swath of the public that isn't necessarily interested in, like, at least at first, getting high.
Right.
How do you create that curiosity and create that conversation about how it can be used in many different ways, especially because, as we know, research has shown women are the decision makers around purchases in the household.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of like close the loop of what I was saying of kind of how I got into the industry, I was very, very lucky that I was introduced to the women of the Peckham family who founded Etain. And honestly, they took a chance on me having more of a PR and fashion background, but they wanted someone to really come in and tell their story and help them build their brand, and also speak to women and, people in the medical community here in New York that aren't looking for, 30% THC, et cetera. They want things that are going to be used for their medical conditions. And how do we really explain things, especially to people that are mostly 50 plus, that are wanting to use cannabis as medicine? So they were really going through a branding change, because much like you were saying, when they started, they were one of the first 5 licenses in New York, and they were the only family founded in the state in 2015. And they had to get up and running really, really fast. And they did as a family, which I just thought was the coolest thing. And they got their grow running, they got their stores going, they had their products really before anyone else did, and they hit the ground running. But in that same sense, they didn't have that opportunity to make, really necessarily exciting packaging and all those branding things, because they were just so focused on getting product out in the market so that there was something for these medical patients. So I came in at that kind of pivotal time when they were like, we've never really told our story about even being a women-founded brand and a mom and 2 daughters. And I just thought that was the most, I mean, you've told the story yourself. Like, that's just the most amazing story to get to tell, especially in such a male dominated, and especially in New York. So I was just really excited that I got to partner with them, and they just were like, let's go. And it was just like all hands in, so much fun, which I say this all the time, like, it's cannabis. It is supposed to be fun. And also we're getting to help people, which, I loved giving people free clothes, but it was really amazing to get to talk with our patients and just get to tell people how this can really help them. And then at that same time, we actually opened the New York City flagship store, which coincidentally, actually today is the 4-year anniversary of when that store opened. So it was just a really, no one in medical here, and I'm sure probably out there too, people don't think of medical as, sexy and something you can have a brand with. They think of it just as medical. And it's still cannabis products, it still has packaging, and it still has a story to tell. So it was really excellent to be able to do that and create that with them. And then at the same time, like I said, be able to really be helping people to understand what this plant could do for them for, their health and wellness.
Yeah. That's, and then I think about also like comparing the coast, of course, I'm from the Midwest, and so that's where everybody calls us coastal elites, but it's, you know, the coasts do influence the rest of the country. Like, and then, you know, we out here in California, you know, we have our own brand of sophistication. We're a little crunchy. We like our Napa, we like our wine and everything. But then you go to the East Coast and there's just a little bit more there's a little bit more of an edge. There's a little bit more sophistication.
We're a little bit gritty and sophisticated at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think too, that's what's so exciting about cannabis in general right now, is because it's so new, and in a place like New York. I mean, no shade to anywhere else, but like in New York, we do build brands. That's what we do. And I think you look at so many other, especially coming from fashion, like we, you know, are one of the fashion capitals of the world and always have been. So being able to look at what we're going to do here from a cannabis side, I think there's already some really amazing brands coming out of here. And I think they're just going to continue, and people are going to find those products that really speak to them in medical and adult use, because there really is something for everyone, but it's just so new that people don't even know, and they're really just getting to discover it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, New York especially really is just such, I mean, we always look at New York as the melting pot, because, and all of us who have had, you know, our families came from other places, unless you're Native American, that's the story. This episode is brought to you by Fat Nugs Magazine, a global perspective of cannabis and stoner culture as a bridge to the rest of the world. Right now, you can join Fat Nugs Magazine, Beard Bros Farms, Freedom Grow, and Jailed for Weed in the upcoming Prisoners Edition, and help spotlight current and past cannabis prisoners and their stories, because no one should be in jail for a plant. Find Fat Nugs Magazine's beautiful print copies at your local dispensary, fatnugsmag.com, and on socials. Cannabis culture welcomes us all. And so many of our families landed in New York. And so it's just like there's diversity here in California too, but you really see that in New York, and I've really seen that with just like the culture in New York. And how do you think that reflects on the identity of brands and just the creativity that goes behind that?
I mean, I think and people have, of course, their own opinions on our like Office of Cannabis Management and all of those things, but they really are making a concerted effort to make sure that New York is different, and that we are really giving minority, women-owned, veteran-owned brands that chance to succeed here and grow their retail stores, grow their brands. And by not having, you know, there's only a certain amount of registered organizations that are vertically integrated, they really want to give people those chances to create their own brands on all parts of the supply chain. Like, we have really cool opportunities here for things like micro businesses and nursery licenses that I'm like, you know, in some years, like there's going to be so many interesting things here that people can really build out their own identity with that and create their own, you know, culture within wherever they live. I think people think of New York and they think of New York City, but we're a very big place. Much like there, I'm like, nope, you guys aren't just, you know, LA, San Diego. And I think if you go, even for, you know, the Etain brand having 4 stores in the state, the people that purchase in Syracuse are different than Kingston, different than White Plains, different than New York City. So I think all of these, all around the state, there's just going to be really cool kind of pockets of their own cannabis communities of what really resonates in those places, just like you would see kind of with like a wine country, et cetera. So I think it's just like so the beginning, which is really exciting. And I'm still like, I can't believe I've even been doing this for 4 years. I think you can probably attest that equals like at least 8 or 10 in cannabis years. So you're on like 25 then.
Yeah, I guess I have been around for a while. People are always like, what? And you stayed at the same place? Yes, I did. Yeah, it's the growth, the people who are getting involved, the people who are bringing their expertise in to lend to it has been just amazing. And I think it really shows, it's showing a new face, it's creating normalization, it's creating more conversations. Yep. And I think that, you know, especially like I'm back in the day before I even worked in cannabis, I'd be at a party, I'd have a joint, and it would usually be me and a bunch of dudes in the back of the house, you know, because women weren't as interested in it. Or maybe It was more that we kept it to ourselves more. I'm not sure what it is.
As we do.
Yeah.
As we do. But I think now, I mean, and I'm sure out there as well, but like, I stopped drinking when I joined this industry because I was like, I don't need to drink. There's so many other things that are amazing. And there's so many interesting products here that are like in that beverage space. And that's something else that I think is going to be really interesting. And also a place that I think there's going to be a lot of, female really great ideas and brands is in that more like lounge space and hospitality space. Because again, that's such a big part of what we do here in New York. And all of the, the drinks and the food, like we haven't even started yet. So I think that's where there's going to be so many interesting things. And I cannot wait to be able to be like, hey, let's meet up and, go to this place where we can have an infused mocktail and, some infused appetizers. Like, sign me up, let's go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think that the beverages are just fascinating. I love cannabis cocktails, and during the pandemic, that was actually we have a garden in our front yard, so that's where we would entertain, just kind of keep it outside, get to still see friends, and we would make cannabis cocktails, and friends who hadn't had cannabis in years were like open to that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because I thought that the coasts would be really, I thought one of us would spearhead having that be more accessible in a public consumption space, but Minnesota beat us. They have Delta 8 in their bars. I know, who would have thought? But I mean, it just goes to show that like we all have so much to learn from one another. We don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. It's like, I was so excited when New York passed, their medical first, but then legalization. Because like, my husband played with the Dead, he played with Further, and so whenever they'd come to play MSG, it's like they'd light up.
Whoa, you buried the lead there for me. He played with the Dead?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, we need to have a whole separate conversation outside of this. I'm like, I was at the Sphere, I did all the things, talk about like throwing cannabis in the mix.
Yeah,
I sure did, of course.
Yeah. That's what, and he was in the band before that, Further, with Bob and Phil. So when they would come play MSG or Radio City, the I guess the head engineer for the Empire State Building used to light up the Empire State, making it kind of look like tie-dye. But Jeff always used to say the thing that used to make him sad was when he would hear that kids got pulled out of line for the show for smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
So when this was passed, he was just like, yes. Now that means that, everybody can have fun and not get in trouble for things.
And also stop by a dispensary on the way. There's so many like legal dispensaries popping up there. And, the hope is someday you're getting your infused seltzer next to your, I don't know what the White Claw, whatever the kids these days are drinking. Like, I think that's a really like, that is exciting to me because I'm like, am I still really like sneaking things in here? This just seems very antiquated. So I think it's just going to keep getting more and more like part of the conversation because that's part of that culture, music and cannabis, like they're besties. And I think it just lends itself to that experience so much. And think about all those experiential things you can do. I mean, it's really like the world is the oyster, and I'm just so excited at what all of these next phases are going to be and to really be a part of it and find those brands that are excited to have, tell their story with those really differentiated products.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at what we've done, and don't make our mistakes.
Yes, that as well. Yes, of course.
Just save the energy, save it to create greater creativity above and beyond what's already been done. Because it's, we have a fairly sophisticated market, but our market is hurting because of policy. But also it's like you can kind of see just all the different dips that we've taken, and it's and that's I think the thing that it always surprises me when I look at different markets when they do make some of the same mistakes. I'm like, save your energy for doing other things. Like, don't. There's so much more to do. Yeah, don't try. Just go beyond that. What not to do.
What not to do. Yes, there's a lot of that learning in this industry. That is for sure. But something I said this last week to someone because I was talking to them about, the brand that they work for. And they said, oh, well, I saw so-and-so did this. And I said, BYOB, be your own brand.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what they did. Like, you've got your own story, you've got your own products. Like, there's something for everyone here, and be your own brand. And you're the people that love your brand, your products, and really the people behind it, they're going to show up. It might not be as quick as you want it to, but it takes time when you also we can't do traditional marketing things that other people can. So it takes that also like extra layer of creativity, which instead of looking at as a challenge, again, look at it as like, it's a fun challenge. Like, let's figure out how we can do this and talk to different people.
Yeah. And I mean, when we are looking at branding, a lot of, marketing branding is, people seeing themselves in the product or seeing what they want to be. And what are some of the things, what is some of the advice that you give people when they're trying to formulate stuff like that?
I mean, I think it's why, if it's about the product, it's, why did you make this product and who are you making it for? I think there is, I'm always like, a lot of what I did at Etain was, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, I'm our customer. I am that medical customer. So it's really not just thinking about the product, it's thinking about the person that you're kind of envisioning using that product, because you can't market to everyone, especially in New York. There's way too many people, and there is really that something for everyone. So I think it's really knowing your brand story. There's a big difference between, and no shade to it, a brand that's like created in a boardroom and a brand that's created, with a family or with friends or with someone who has their own health issues they're trying to fix. So I think it's really just trying to go like a little bit deeper with it. So people want the connection, we're on all these screens. We might all be back together, but we're still on these screens all the time. So also, how are you going to then bring your brand story to people in real life? How are you going to let them try it, smell it, smoke it, etc., and just let people have the experience of it? Because it's such like a tactical thing. You seeing something on Instagram is not going to really tell me what it's like.
Yeah. I find that some of the brands that have been the most that I've just been really impressed with, not only have, the beautiful presentation, but also like some of the really creative activations that have been going on around that too. It's like, and imagine like, because since I've been in cannabis, I've only been to New York once, and it was for MJ Unpacked, and it was a crazy ass few days. So I didn't really get to see as much as I would have liked to, because you're so busy catching up with everybody. But I did smell a lot of weed in the streets, which was not what the last time I was in town.
We've got, we threw that scent on top of so many of our other signature scents that we have here. But you got to come back, because it's even I'm not sure, when was that? A little bit ago?
That was a year and a half ago. So it's been a minute.
So we really had maybe, if any, dispensaries then. So now in the state, I think we're up to like 160.
That's awesome.
And, it's a lot and a little, but it's also because we're doing it the right way that was written in the regulations here. And that takes time. And we've got some really unique dispensaries here that are all really like carving out their own footprint. And then also with those unique brands within those too. So you got to come back. We can do a whole canna tour with all the ladies. So come back anytime.
I would love that. I really want to check it out. And I know like, just the conversations around like from the medical to cannabis and luxury to all sorts of different lifestyles. I mean, I'm just so looking forward to, as New York continues, seeing everything that's coming out of it. Because like you said, especially in the United States, it is, the place for fashion. Everything comes out of there. And I'm always excited when I go to New York, because I'm a person who wears all black. So I always feel,
oh my gosh, hello.
This
is all we got. I got nothing else. Yep.
I have a white cat though, so I have to bring a lint roller.
Oh my gosh, I have a white dog. See,
You
and everyone's like, I'm so surprised you have a white dog. I'm like, it's a juxtaposition type of thing here.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Exactly. Exactly. But that too, it's also like, what are those ancillary things that go with your brand? I mean, this like wearing this buy weed from women merch that, we sold at Etain and we did a collaboration with them, like things like that, where it's also people aren't used to seeing like these big messages like that out there, and just also like putting this out in the ether to also help with that stigma here. I mean, I work with the Cannabis Media Council, and we have a whole campaign that is literally I'm high right now. And it's all about just destigmatizing cannabis in media and wearing that giant logo around. People aren't giving me dirty looks. I'm usually getting thumbs up, and people are like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that shirt? Because people, they enjoy that that's a message that we can put out there now. So I think also like the creativity behind how you're going to really like brand it and be really creative and smart and a little funny maybe about how you're going to talk about products and the plant and, the brand itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the buy weed from women shirts, and Cannabis Media Council is these are just really important things. And it really shows like how much we're growing because,
and all women at the helm of all of those things.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, and that's so important because that was one of the things that, there's been a lot of mourning here, especially in California, because during the 215 medicinal days, it seemed like there were a lot more women formulating, heading up companies. We were really looking at this as like cannabis is a new way of looking at business, a new way of looking at leadership and creativity. And then we got into legalization, and all of a sudden things started to sound a little third verse, same as the first. I'm like, I'm seeing some patterns from like outside the industry. And I wonder, like, if for women in the industry, like, I know for me, like finding my voice, I had been here a long time. So I was just kind of like, I'm already here.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. But I think that for some women, it can be really discouraging because we are changing a culture. We're changing a culture of work and of business as we become mainstream. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are around that. Maybe, especially for like young women getting in the industry, what you would tell them.
I mean, we are very lucky here in New York that the group of the Canna ladies, if you will, are such an amazing group here. And really it comes from like the foundation of, the original like Women Grow meetings here, which were before my time, but that's really how the Peckhams got to meet so many women, were in those first meetings in 2015 and 2016. And all those women are not only still around in cannabis in New York, they're all still supporting each other and have supported me in my time here. And when we do kind of have there's a lot of kind of gatherings that we'll do. There's no energy like that. And I think when there's women who say, oh, thinking about getting into the cannabis industry, I'm like, just go to events. Everyone is so welcoming and not only supportive, but also wants to share information. I think so many industries are very like gatekeeping. And here it's like, what do you think you want to do? Oh, okay. Well, you should talk to so-and-so because they did that. They had a struggle, but now they're crushing it. So it's just been we're just very, very fortunate of the women kind of crew here. And I think, there's now multiple dispensaries that are founded by women here, which we love to see, brands, people leading up grows, and again, kind of just the beginning. And it's just a really good support system. So I always am just like, come to events, connect on LinkedIn, cannabis and LinkedIn. It's the only safe social media, it seems. So I think we've been really fortunate, and it's just going to continue to grow. And I think we're really making a really good foothold here because we've all just really stuck together and supported each other, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's so important. I was just at the Emerald Cup this past weekend, and Friday was kicked off with blunt brunch. So it was a bunch of women getting together. Adelia.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I went to the Vegas one.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Adelia is wonderful, and I love that she and Parisa put this together. And it was funny because we were all sitting there talking. A lot of us knew each other. There were some new faces, or at least new to me. And Adelia was like, okay, at each of your tables, each woman writes down what it is that she needs, because we are in a room full of influential women and we should be helping each other. And so we designated one person at each table to be the presenter / note taker. And it was really beautiful to see, like, after that exercise was done, everyone was just talking and everything. Women going up to one another being, I heard what you needed. Either they could help or they knew somebody that they could connect them with and they gave them ideas. And I thought, that's what we need to perpetuate throughout the industry.
And that there's things like that like only happen in a group of women like that. And sometimes, and I think for me, even, I didn't realize how much I kind of needed that until I was surrounded by it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it just gives you like such a different feeling and you feel really comfortable. And I think that it's just going to keep growing. And even things like, Blunt Brunch and all of those things like started from, one small group, and now they're doing these huge events, and things like that are going to go, national, international. And it's going to be like, oh my gosh, remember when we did the first one of those? And I think it's like everything's just kind of getting started, which is just the coolest part of everything.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as women, we're always feeling more like, even though we as women always want to help other women, we always feel this responsibility to bootstrap things ourselves. And I'm always telling people, okay, so logistically speaking, bootstrapping is physically impossible. You cannot actually pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So let's take that out of our vocabulary, okay?
So let's put on some really good sneakers.
Yep.
And pull ourselves up from there, or just lift the chair right over, whatever we need to do.
Whatever we need to do. Get your scooter out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Make it happen. I just think it's just really beautiful. I mean, it's because we just have some amazing opportunities. And when you look at like marketing to women, what do you think are some of the differences between marketing to women and marketing to men?
I think it's just about, the messaging, the tone, and just kind of the overall like sense of that relatability. Like I said, a lot of times when I was writing descriptions of products or even taking photos of things, I'm kind of like, who am I talking to? Well, for this, I'm kind of talking to myself. So what would I want to see in this that you were saying earlier, that I see myself in?
Mm-hmm.
I think that people, especially with a new product and genre like this, they just want to feel comfortable, because it can be really intimidating to walk into a dispensary. I still get intimidated walking into dispensaries. So finding, even having that confidence to go into a dispensary and say, hey, I want to see, like, I saw that you have, XYZ here. I had read an article about them, or I had tried it from someone else, that people like can feel that comfortability with it. Oh, they're doing something that's low dose. Well, I've been looking for something with low dose. So I think just, again, like not assuming that it's that like a one size fits all, because there's just so many variations and different types of product, and just really looking at, like, speaking in a bit of like a softer way sometimes, I think too, like, and not being scared to also talk about how things are going to help different women's issues. How's it going to help with menopause, with perimenopause, with endometriosis, with things that people like would never kind of talk about out loud, that I'm like, these are things that are happening to us every day. And I think there's also something in that like collective healingness of it too, where you're like, oh, I thought I was the only one that had this issue. Oh, there's a whole brand that's doing this. So again, it kind of goes back to that individual brand building of like, what are you looking for that's going to help you? There's probably a lot of other people that are looking for that same thing, and then finding that kind of community and just really talking to them and kind of building that brand around it, and just, being able to then look and say, how can I this helped me, this can help you, and just kind of taking it from there.
Yeah, that conversation is normalization. And I think it's really important to, I know like there was a mother-daughter brand here in California that just recently ceased to exist, but they're one of my favorites, Cosmic View. It was a mother-daughter team. And they had these really, really thoughtful formulations for women. And one of the hardest things when I was still training people in the dispensary and working with staff with education was getting the language out so that people could understand what it was about and feel comfortable, especially, when it was, let's say it was a male bud tender, they're like, I'm like, well, there are ways of being able to have the conversation without feeling uncomfortable, but, we're in training right now, so I'm going to just tell you, you won't have to use this terminology behind the bar, but vaginas aren't scary, honey. It's okay. Like,
periods exist. It's okay.
Yeah, you had a mom, you might have had a sister, maybe you have a girlfriend, I don't know, but it's okay. And like it's I feel like in having those conversations too is also part of like the softening of like the pressure that men have in our society to not think about those kinds of things and to kind of be just as human beings, have us all be more connected to one another, even like when especially like people feel more free in more, how would I say it, I guess more urban areas where there's more diversity, even having the conversations about being a non-binary person coming into a dispensary and how does that experience lend itself. It's really just, I think cannabis is this amazing opportunity for us to all soften up, and we're all human.
Are you looking for a lasting, meaningful way to connect with your audience and highlight your brand? Well, listen up, because Planted with Sara Payan is taking on new sponsors. Here's a powerful stat. 20% of listeners are more likely to support brands they hear about on a trusted podcast. And 60% actually look up that product after hearing about it. That's the power of podcasting. Planted with Sara Payan has a unique draw. With remarkable guests, we attract and engage audience that spans all sides of the cannabis spectrum. Picture your message reaching these listeners time and again. Podcast ads are evergreen, meaning your brand stays relevant as new audiences discover and binge past episodes. It's a long-term investment that keeps on giving. If you're looking for a targeted, passionate audience with lasting impact, the right listeners are here waiting to meet your brand. Visit plantedwithsara.com to get a copy of our sponsorship deck today.
With needs.
And I mean, kind of going back to my first experience, it really brings people together.
Yeah, it does.
When you're, with your family or at events or whatever it might be, and you are kind of, you're consuming together, it just can bring out those different sides of people that they might feel a little bit, looser or more relaxed to have those more open conversations and, make relationships and friendships and mentorships they might have never had before because they're just feeling a little bit, softer and that they can really open up.
Yeah, I really like that. I just feel like there are so many, our industry has the opportunity to change so many things around critical thought and the way we do business in the greater world. And even like when we look at like marketing, branding, being able to influence people as well. Because it's time. It's time to have a softer side. It's time to have these conversations. And if we can get people interested in it, I mean, that's also like even with civic engagement, I feel like, when people are saying, oh, I don't like that I don't get the products that I want aren't available, or the prices are high, or why is this the way it is? It's an opportunity to get people also civically engaged and help shape the way our world works and how it looks.
Yeah, you got to speak up. We have so many ways to speak up now. So people have to get the confidence to do that, whether it is about, hey, I want to see that this store has this, or I don't like this. Could you guys have something else? I mean, maybe it's just in New York, but people have no problem speaking out here and telling us how they feel. So we definitely get plenty of the feedback, whether good, bad, or in the middle. And that is probably a very New York thing to do.
Yeah, I love New Yorkers.
Yeah, we don't mess around. It's just
No.
how we roll. We don't know how to be any other way.
No, you just put it out there, and it's
put it out there.
What you see is what you get. It's like, and then, because it's funny. It's like so being from the Midwest. It's like we're very much to the point, but we're we're nice. We'll stop if you're stuck on the side of the road, and sometimes in the East Coast. Well, on the West Coast here, people are like, "Oh, New Yorkers, they're mean." I'm like, "No, they're not. If they like you, like if they like you, they'll give you the shirt off their back. If they don't, they'll tell you to go take a walk. It's as simple as that." I really appreciate that, and it's a gross generalization. I do understand.
Yes, that's fine. We'll take it. That's fine. We'll take it. We're okay with that. Like, I have given someone literally the shirt off my back, so it just depends on the day and what people need.
Well, looking at all of this, what are some things that you're excited about in the future? What are some things you're hopeful about?
I'm just excited about the industry overall, in the general, the country in general, but also really specifically to New York, and kind of what I was saying before of just all the different variations that we're going to have here, and being able to really build that industry. So, from the nightlife industry to dispensaries, just brands and products, I think we're just at the beginning, and to get to be a part of that, and also specifically get to really be supporting a lot of, the women in the industry who have, great ideas, great products, and just need, that extra step of confidence, and, introducing to people that people have capital, things in that way of just like, how can we really help and support each other, I think is just it's all setting the tone for, hopefully a really successful and amazing industry here. And I'm just super, super lucky to get to be a part of it. And again, really thank the women of the Peckham family who took a chance on me, and, we're just able to build something so amazing that they really built for their family. And I'm excited to just keep passing all these things on, and look back and be like, wow, we did that.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see how this all turns out, because there are things that could be different, but we're doing it. We're making it happen. There's some really good things that are coming down the way that are happening now. And I know, after 4 years, like you have your own consulting company for people who want to, and for those of you listening out there, Jes has worked with so many companies and has done so many influential things with campaigns and branding. So,
oh my gosh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for people who would like to either just follow you or contact you to be able to engage with your expertise, how do they do that?
Again, I think LinkedIn, it just got so cool. I was like, all right, we're all about this LinkedIn life.
Right.
So LinkedIn, Jes with one S, Jes, last name Feuer. And that's the best place to find me. And I always am just wanting to connect with people, especially more women that want to be in the industry, and just, all grow together. I think we've got some fun times ahead, and just a lot to do, but we also get to, consume cannabis while we're doing it. And that's not too shabby.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Jes, thanks so much. It's just been a pleasure talking with you. I'm really looking forward to our future conversations. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, you've already made a substantial mark in our world.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future too.
Thank you. Well, come visit me, and we'll have a whole afternoon, and we'll do a whole tour.
I would love that. I totally will. Thank you.
Amazing.
So much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
And everyone, remember, if you like listening, please give us a review, share it with a friend, let us know what your favorite episodes are. And if you'd like to stay in touch over social media, we are Planted with Sara Payan on Facebook and Planted with Sara on Instagram and Twitter. You can also go to our website, www.plantedwithsara.com, or listen to us on our parent network, Radio Misfits Network, where there are other great podcasts, like one of my favorites, the Winemakers Podcast. So check it out. You can listen to Planted wherever wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whether that's Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple, Stitcher. Tune in. We are there. So join us. And until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, it's a wild world out there. Be good to one another. Until next time, take care.